Have you ever been scrolling online late at night and you see it? An article or a video with a headline that seems to speak directly to you. It promises a simple, natural, almost magical solution to a problem that's been weighing on your mind. For me, that problem was my blood pressure. And the promise, it came in the form of a drink, a so-called miracle drink that hundreds of articles and testimonials claimed could lower blood pressure naturally without the side effects of medication that so many of us worry about. My name is Frank, and a few months ago my doctor gave me the news that so many of us hear as we get older. My blood pressure was creeping up into the zone he called concerning. He mentioned starting medication, and honestly, a wave of anxiety washed over me. I thought of my own father, and I remembered a friend who felt tired and dizzy all the time on her pills. So I did what most of us do. I went online. And that's when I found it, the #1 blood pressure drink that seemed to be everywhere. So I decided to conduct an experiment. For 30 days, I would drink this popular health elixir every single day. I would track my blood pressure at home meticulously. I would note how I felt. And at the end of the 30 days, I would go back to my doctor, lay the results on his desk, and get his unfiltered, no-nonsense professional opinion. Now, I want to be perfectly clear about something right from the start. This journey was not about finding a magic bullet to replace medical advice. It was about cutting through the hype. It was about taking a promise I saw online and holding it up to the light of real-world medicine. My goal was to see if this drink made any noticeable difference, but more importantly, to start a real, in-depth conversation with my doctor about what truly works. Because I know I'm not alone in this. I know many of you have seen the same promises and felt that same mix of hope and skepticism. So today, I'm taking you with me on that 30-day journey. We'll look at the science, we'll look at my personal experience, and most importantly, we will hear what my doctor actually said. And a quick but important reminder, I am not a doctor or a medical professional. This video documents my personal experience and is for informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please, always consult with your own healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or medication regimen. Your health journey is unique to you, and it deserves a personalized plan from a qualified professional. All right, with that said, let's get into it. The first step was choosing the drink. After looking through dozens of articles, health blogs, and forums for seniors, one contender stood out far above the rest: beet juice. You've probably seen it. The deep ruby red liquid hailed as a cardiovascular champion. The claims are compelling. The idea, as the science explains it, is that beets are incredibly rich in something called dietary nitrates. When you consume these nitrates, your body converts them into nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide is a fascinating molecule. Think of your blood vessels as tiny, flexible hoses. Nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator, which is a fancy way of saying it signals the muscles in the walls of those hoses to relax and widen. When they widen, there's more room for blood to flow, and logically, the pressure inside those vessels goes down. It's an elegant, simple-sounding mechanism, and there are studies that seem to back this up. Some research has shown that a daily glass of beet juice can indeed lead to a measurable drop in blood pressure. But this is where that feeling of confusion that so many of us have comes in. For every article praising beet juice, you can find another that urges caution. I dug a little deeper, and I found what the more sensational headlines often leave out. For instance, the British Heart Foundation, a highly respected institution, notes that while beets are healthy, there just isn't enough strong evidence yet to make them a specific recommendation for treating high blood pressure. They also point out that other vegetables like lettuce and cabbage are also rich in these same nitrates. Then, I came across a 2024 review of multiple studies, and its conclusion was a perfect example of the scientific nuance we often miss. It stated that while some trials did show a reduction in blood pressure with beet juice, the overall evidence was of low certainty. That means the effect might be real, but it could be small, it might not last very long, and it might not work the same for everyone. So I began my experiment with my eyes wide open. I was armed with both the hope from the headlines and the healthy skepticism from the research papers. I bought a month's supply of pure, not from concentrate beet juice, and my 30-day journey began. The first morning, I poured my first glass. The color is impressive, a deep, earthy red. The taste? Well, let's just say it tastes exactly like beets. It's earthy, a little sweet, and it's definitely not your morning orange juice. But I was committed. Every single morning, for 30 days, I had my 8-ounce glass of beet juice. Alongside this, I started a daily ritual. I bought a reliable, well-reviewed home blood pressure monitor. This was important. I know a lot of people experience what's called the white coat spike. I read a story on an AARP forum from a gentleman who said his blood pressure is a stressful 150/80 every time he's in the doctor's office. But when he takes it at home, calm and relaxed. It's a beautiful 110/64. That anxiety is real. So, every morning, before the beet juice, before my coffee, I would sit quietly for 5 minutes, just as the instructions recommend, and take my reading. I recorded it in a little notebook. The date, the time, my systolic and diastolic numbers, and my heart rate. Over the first week, I can't say I felt any revolutionary changes. I didn't suddenly have boundless energy. My workouts didn't feel dramatically different. The most noticeable effect, and I'll be candid here, is that beet juice can turn your urine and stools a rather alarming shade of red or pink. It's a harmless phenomenon called beeturia, but the first time it happens, it can certainly give you a jolt. As the weeks went on, I settled into the routine. It became a normal part of my morning, and I have to admit, there's a psychological component to this. Just the act of doing something proactive for my health every day felt good. It felt empowering. I would look at my little notebook of numbers and it felt like I was taking control, gathering data, becoming a partner in my own health instead of just a passive patient. I did notice, looking over my log, that my average readings seemed to be trending down ever so slightly, just by a few points. Was it the beet juice? Was it the fact that I was more mindful of my health in general? Was it just natural variation? This was the question that I couldn't wait to ask my doctor. As day 30 approached, I made my appointment. I had my notebook full of data, and I felt like a student heading into a final exam, both nervous and eager to see the results. The day of the appointment arrived. I walked into the clinic, my little notebook clutched in my hand. After the usual weigh-in and questions from the nurse, the doctor came in. He's a good man, thorough and a bit old school, which I appreciate. I told him, "Doc, I did something for the last 30 days. I heard all about beet juice for blood pressure, and I decided to give it a try. I've been tracking my numbers every single day." I opened my notebook and showed him my neatly written columns of data. He took his time, looking over the numbers, nodding slowly, and the nurse took my pressure right there in the office. The result? It was down a little from my last visit, but not by much. It was still in that elevated category. I looked at him, full of anticipation. "So what do you think, Doc? The beet juice, did it work?" He leaned back in his chair and gave me a look that was part kindness and part reality check. "Frank," he began, "I commend you for being so proactive. Seriously, taking your health into your own hands like this, tracking your numbers, this is fantastic. More of my patients should be this engaged. He paused. As for the beet juice, he said, it's not magic, and it's not a substitute for what we know works. He explained that the very small drop in my numbers could be due to a dozen different things. It could be a placebo effect, or simply the fact that my increased focus on my health led me to make other small subconscious changes. He said, the nitrates in beets are real. The science is interesting. But the effect, if any, is modest and often temporary. It's certainly not harmful. It's a healthy vegetable juice. But the danger is thinking that this drink is the solution and then ignoring the foundational pillars of blood pressure management that have been proven by decades of research and millions of patients. He pointed out that my reading in his office was still high. The beet juice hadn't solved the underlying issue. This was the moment of truth. The miracle drink wasn't a miracle at all. It was, at best, a tiny, uncertain helper, and at worst, a distraction from the real work that needed to be done. Okay, let's just take a quick pause here. The doctor brought us back down to earth. The beet juice wasn't the magic potion we see advertised online. But here's the thing. The experiment wasn't a failure. In fact, it was the most important thing I could have done because it led to the conversation that came next. It opened the door to a real plan. Before we dive into the powerful, evidence-based strategies my doctor actually recommended, if you are finding this honest, real-world investigation valuable, I would be so grateful if you took just a moment to tap that like button below. It's a small click for you, but it truly helps our community grow and allows others who are asking these same questions to find this video. Thank you for that. Now, let's get into the heart of what a doctor really recommends. My doctor pivoted the conversation away from the single drink and towards a comprehensive, holistic strategy. He said, Frank, you want to lower your blood pressure for the long haul. Forget about miracle drinks. Let's talk about miracle lifestyles. He then laid out a plan that wasn't some new fad, but a time-tested approach recommended by major institutions like the National Institute on Aging and the American Heart Association. The first and biggest piece of the puzzle he mentioned was the DASH diet. DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And honestly, I always thought diet meant deprivation, but he explained it's not about that at all. It's a pattern of eating. It's simple. Eat more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Choose lean proteins like fish and chicken. Go for low-fat dairy. And this is key, reduce your intake of foods high in saturated fat, cholesterol, and sugar. He explained that this way of eating is naturally high in nutrients like potassium, calcium, and magnesium, which are crucial for regulating blood pressure. It's not about one magic food, but the symphony of all these healthy foods working together. The next pillar he stressed was sodium. We all know we're supposed to watch our salt intake, but he explained why in a way that really clicked for me. He said, think of it like this, Frank. When you eat a lot of salt, your body holds on to extra water to dilute the salt. This extra water increases the total volume of blood in your blood vessels. Imagine turning up the water supply to a garden hose. The pressure inside that hose is going to go up. That's exactly what's happening inside your body. The biggest culprits aren't usually the salt shaker on your table. He told me to look at processed foods, canned soups, frozen dinners, deli meats, and even bread can have a shocking amount of hidden sodium. His advice was simple. Cook more at home, where you control the ingredients, and become a label reader at the grocery store. Finally, we talked about exercise. The word itself can sound intimidating. I had visions of having to join a gym and lift heavy weights, but he waved that away. I'm not asking you to run a marathon, he said with a smile. I'm asking you to move your body. He recommended 30 minutes of moderate activity most days of the week. And he stressed the word moderate. That means a brisk walk where you can still hold a conversation. It could be swimming, it could be gardening, it could be dancing in your living room. The key is consistency. He explained that regular physical activity makes your heart stronger. A stronger heart can pump more blood with less effort, which decreases the force on your arteries and, you guessed it, lowers your blood pressure. Now, this conversation also opened the door for me to talk about one of my biggest fears, a fear I know I share with concerned Carol and so many of you, the fear of medication side effects. I told him frankly that I was worried about feeling foggy or dizzy or just not like myself. He listened patiently and nodded. He said, I understand that fear completely, and it's a valid concern. This is where we got into the topic of other so-called natural remedies and their hidden dangers. I mentioned that I had also read a lot about hibiscus tea. He leaned forward, and his tone became more serious. This is exactly why we need to have these conversations, he said. It is critically important that you tell your doctor about everything you are taking, whether it's a supplement, an herbal tea, or a vitamin. He explained that something as seemingly harmless as hibiscus tea can be dangerous for someone on certain blood pressure medications. He cited the potential for it to interact with a common diuretic called hydrochlorothiazide. The tea can enhance the effect of the drug, causing blood pressure to drop too low. This can lead to dizziness, lightheadedness, and for a senior, a dangerous fall. He told me, Frank, the internet promotes these things as natural and therefore safe, but natural does not always mean safe, especially when mixed with prescription medicine. This was a huge light bulb moment for me. My quest for a natural alternative could have inadvertently led me down a much more dangerous path than the medication I was afraid of. He also addressed the fear of side effects head-on. He told me that there are many different classes and types of blood pressure medications today. If one type causes an unwanted side effect, there are often many other options to try. The goal is to find the right medication at the right dose that works for your body. It's a partnership. Avoiding the conversation because you're scared of side effects, he said, is the surest way to let the silent killer do its damage. And high blood pressure is called the silent killer for a reason. According to the CDC, it often has no warning signs or symptoms, but it quietly damages your arteries, heart, and brain, leading to heart attack, stroke, kidney disease, and even dementia. This honest, direct conversation did more to calm my fears than any article I had read online. It replaced fear with a plan, and anxiety with a partnership. So, after 30 days of drinking beet juice and one very illuminating doctor's appointment, what's my final verdict? The blood pressure drink was not the miracle cure the internet promised. My experiment showed me that while there might be a sliver of science to it, it is no replacement for a proven, comprehensive health strategy. But was the experiment a waste of time? Absolutely not. In fact, it was one of the best things I've done for my health in years. Because that bottle of beet juice became a catalyst, it pushed me to be more engaged, to monitor my own health, and most importantly, it gave me a concrete reason to have a deeper, more honest conversation with my doctor than ever before. It moved me from being a passive recipient of advice to an active participant in my own care. The real secret to managing blood pressure isn't hidden in a single drink or a magic pill. The secret is consistency. It's the consistency of making healthier food choices day by day. It's the consistency of moving your body in ways you enjoy. And it is the consistency of open, honest communication with your healthcare provider. That is the real path to taking control of your health and building a future that is not defined by fear, but by empowerment. You have the power to ask questions, to seek clarity, and to build a plan that works for you. Now I would love to hear from you. Which part of this journey resonated with you the most? Was it the skepticism about online claims, the reality check from the doctor, or the discussion about the fear of side effects? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story could be the one that helps someone else feel less alone on their own health journey. And if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more honest, in-depth content designed to help you live a healthier, more empowered life, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.